The hidden alchemy of elemental, spiritual transformation through fire and water. Welcome, seekers of deeper wisdom. Today, we're exploring how Pixar's Elemental contains an ancient spiritual blueprint that's been guiding humanity for millennia. What appears as a cute love story actually encodes the sacred alchemical process of spiritual transformation. The great alchemical work revealed. At its core, Elemental follows the three classical stages of alchemy's great work. Nigredo. The blackening stage is clearly visible in Ember's early life in Firetown. Her frustration, inner turmoil about identity, unexamined family trauma, and emotional outbursts represent the initial chaos necessary for transformation. The fire shop itself functions as an alchemical crucible, the vessel where raw material must be broken down before it can be transformed. Albedo. The whitening stage begins when Wade enters Ember's life. Notice how the film's color palette literally shifts from dark, reddish hues to lighter, more luminous environments. This washing purifies Ember's understanding of herself and dissolves her fixed beliefs. Her journey into the unfamiliar government building represents immersion in purifying waters that challenge her limited self-concept. Rubedo. The reddening stage culminates in the film's final act, when Ember achieves her full potential. She embraces her artistic calling, runs across water without extinguishing her flame, and transforms her creative fire from a destructive force into beautiful glasswork. The glass shop becoming a gathering place for all elements symbolizes the achievement of the quintessence, the fifth element that transcends and unites the four classical elements. The divine marriage of opposites. Ember and Wade's relationship represents far more than romance. It embodies the hieros gamos, or sacred marriage found in numerous spiritual traditions. In alchemical symbolism, fire and water represent the most fundamental polarities. Fire, Ember. Masculine principle, active force, transformative power. Water, Wade. Feminine principle, receptive force, formative power. Their seemingly impossible union mirrors the spiritual challenge of enlightenment. Just as fire and water cannot naturally coexist, our lower and higher natures appear irreconcilable until we undergo transformation. In the film's climax, love itself becomes the philosopher's stone, the mysterious agent that allows the impossible union. When Ember finds a way to touch Wade without extinguishing her flame, we witness the alchemical miracle where opposing forces reconcile in perfect harmony. The four elements as aspects of soul. Element City brilliantly maps the four aspects of soul described in esoteric traditions. Fire, Ember, and Firetown represents divine will and creative force. Ember's journey shows that uncontrolled fire destroys rather than creates. Suppressed fire leads to frustration, while balanced fire expresses as creative power. Water, Wade and Waterside, symbolizes emotions and intuition. Wade demonstrates that uncontrolled water loses form and purpose. Suppressed water creates emotional drought, while balanced water flows with adaptability while maintaining its essential nature. Earth, Cinder and Earth District, embodies stability and manifestation. Their presence teaches that unbalanced Earth leads to rigidity, neglected Earth connection results in being ungrounded, while balanced Earth provides the foundation for growth. Air, Gale and Airside, represents intellect and connection. These characters show that unbalanced air leads to disconnected intellectualism, suppressed air results in mental stagnation, while balanced air provides inspiration and healthy connection. Element City as modern Babylon. The segregated districts of Element City symbolize the fragmented state of our modern consciousness. Like the Tower of Babel, the city embodies our tendency to create artificial divisions that separate us from our unified nature. When Ember crosses into Waterside, she undertakes what mystical traditions would call an initiatory journey, entering unfamiliar territory that challenges her limited self-concept. The historic flood that created the city's waterways and the climactic flood threatening Firetown symbolize the dissolution of old structures necessary for rebirth. The flood threatens Firetown not because water is inherently antagonistic to fire, but because their artificial separation has created an unsustainable imbalance. The spiritual science of transformation. What makes Elemental extraordinary is how it reveals spiritual principles through natural laws. When Ember briefly walks on water, the animation depicts the scientific Leidenfrost effect, where extreme heat creates a protective vapor layer between a liquid and hot object. This perfectly illustrates the spiritual principle that seeming opposites can coexist when a higher understanding is achieved. Ember's glassblowing, with different colored flames based on material composition, reflects how our unique essence shines forth when we're fired by passion and purpose. Wade's tears creating rainbows demonstrates the water cycle while symbolizing the spiritual circulation of energy. Just as water never disappears but changes form, our spiritual essence remains constant through all transformations. Practical wisdom for balancing your elements. Elemental offers practical wisdom for our own spiritual journey. For those with excess fire, find creative outlets for your passionate energy, practice patience before reacting, and cultivate relationships with water people who can cool your intensity. For those with excess water, establish clear boundaries in relationships, practice assertiveness, and seek fire friends who can help evaporate stagnant emotional patterns. For those with excess earth, try new experiences that challenge your comfort zone, practice flexibility, and connect with air people who can lift your perspective. For those with excess air, establish grounding practices, create concrete plans for your ideas, and connect with earth people who can anchor your visions in reality. The immigrant experience a spiritual journey. Bernie and Cinder's journey to Element City mirrors the soul's descent into incarnation described in many spiritual traditions. Just as they left their homeland seeking better opportunities, the soul ventures into material existence to grow through challenge. Their struggle to adapt parallels humanity's spiritual challenge of remembering our divine origin while navigating the material world. Bernie's shop represents more than a family business. It symbolizes the sacred purpose that each soul brings to the world. When Ember transforms the shop, she honors its essence while adapting its form, just as spiritual traditions must renew themselves while preserving their core wisdom. The city as map of consciousness. The layout of Element City reveals a profound spiritual geography. Firetown, located in the city's oldest district, represents our primal drives and creative force, the root chakra, or foundation of consciousness. The waterways connecting different parts of the city symbolize the emotional currents that link different aspects of our consciousness. Airside, positioned in the upper reaches, represents the higher mind and intellectual capacities. The downtown hub, where all elements mix, represents the heart center, the integration point where opposing forces find harmony. Breaking karmic patterns. Bernie's expectation that Ember will continue his exact path represents what Carl Jung called the unlived life of the parent, the unconscious projection of unfulfilled potential onto one's children. Ember's decision to transform, rather than merely continue her father's legacy, represents the spiritual breakthrough of karmic liberation. By honoring the essence while changing the form, she fulfills the promise to make all things new. Sacred partnership beyond romance. Wade functions as Ember's spiritual mirror, reflecting both her limitations and untapped potential. Their initial irritation with each other reflects the principle that our greatest teachers often trigger our deepest wounds. Their ultimate union represents what alchemical texts call the chemical wedding, the sacred marriage that produces the divine child of enlightened consciousness. Transcending the matrix of separation. The city's segregated districts encode the fundamental illusion that we are separate from each other and from the divine source. The physical barriers represent the mental constructs that keep us from recognizing our essential unity. The film's resolution, creating a space where all elements safely coexist, represents the spiritual breakthrough of seeing beyond constructed limitations to the underlying unity. The transformed glass shop symbolizes heaven on earth, the manifestation of divine harmony in the material realm. Your own elemental journey. As we conclude, consider which element most describes your natural temperament and which complementary element you most need to integrate for greater balance. Creating your own alchemical container is essential. the safe space where seemingly incompatible aspects of yourself can interact and transform. Consider what spiritual practices, relationships, and physical spaces might support this integration. Remember Ember's journey from resistance to embrace. Sometimes what we initially push away contains the very medicine our souls need most. If you've enjoyed this exploration of Elemental, please like this video, subscribe for more spiritual cinema insights, and share with others who appreciate seeing beyond the surface of entertainment. What's your dominant element? How has this film helped you see your own spiritual journey in a new light? Share in the comments below. #Elemental Film, #Spiritual Cinema, #Alchemy, #Sacred Union, #Elemental Wisdom.